Alright, finna go ahead and get it started. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Life of a Champ podcast. For today's episode 211, we're going to be discussing why you suck with women. For today's episode, I'm going to be going over one of the biggest issues that I see within dating in general, that I see a lot of men making. And hopefully, after this podcast, you can become a better man moving forward when it comes to dating, your interactions with the women, and just your overall dating experience. Hopefully it is going to come with a lot less problems than what it could possibly have, for sure. A few things I want to say before I go ahead and get it started. Make sure you go and follow me on Twitch, TikTok, Rumble, Spotify, at Life of a Champ podcast on every single platform, as well as make sure you go ahead and tap in with the YouTube Shorts as well as the YouTube clips. If you can't catch a full podcast when it's live, feel free to still get the game that I've been talking about with the shorts as well. And one thing I want to mention before I go ahead and get it started, if you do not know me, my name is Champ, and I help men build the foundation of masculinity. Obviously, this is going to be one of the videos for sure. And this is part 2, or episode number 2 of my dating series. So if you did not catch the first one, I went ahead and discussed the masculine and the feminine, which is going to be the essential foundation to dating and the experience of dating. If you don't have that fundamental foundation thoroughly assessed and thoroughly defined, it's going to be a lot harder to navigate. So feel free to go ahead and tap in with that last episode 210 of my podcast. But we're going to go ahead and get into it. What's up, Nani? Appreciate you stopping by. All right, let's get into it. So basically, what it comes down to it is this, right? Most people, or most men that have problems with women, it usually comes from this one lack. They lack this one thing. They lack the ability to maintain this one thing. They lack having a strong foundation. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day. This is going to be, I'm going to give you a few different terms in today's episode. So please, if you do like these terms, or maybe if you heard them before, feel free to go ahead and leave them in the comments for sure. But essentially what it comes down to it is this: in order to avoid as many problems as you possibly can with women, you must master your masculine frame. Now, this is going to be a concept that I had learned probably about 6, almost 7 years now that I think about it. And this is a topic that has helped me acquire a high quality woman, and also be able to navigate and avoid a lot of problems that I see so many men having. So for example, I'll give you one example. If you do not have this structured, right, if you don't have a good masculine frame, you're going to run across disrespect a lot more when it comes to talking with women, right? Hopefully after this, if that is one of the problems you have, hopefully you can go ahead and better handle that situation, and therefore finding women, or better yet, handling if this were to come up, when it comes to women trying to disrespect you and things like that. So it's all gonna come back down to your masculine frame. Now, like I had mentioned, this is going to be there's going to be many different problems that can all result back down to the root cause of a weak masculine frame. So first of all, you got to figure out what it is, and more importantly, how to maintain it. Because knowing what it is one thing. Actually going ahead and applying it, or rather not applying it, going ahead and living it out, is an entirely different thing, and that can literally be probably a whole episode by itself. But I'll go ahead and define these things. So what is it? What is having a masculine frame, or having a strong masculine frame? This is going to look like having a strong foundation, a strong structured foundation of life in general. And with that being said, this is going to look like having your values, your standards, and your boundaries clearly defined. And this is going to help you navigate the proper way that you're supposed to be handling life in general. But essentially, when you're in a, let's just say you're dating or something like that, right? This is going to help have a good foundation that you must need when it comes to dating, right? And more importantly, you're going to need to know when to apply these things. So I'll give you an example, right? So let's just say I like to use this example. Let's just say you're on a diet, right? Let's just say you're talking to a woman. Maybe it's within the first few months of talking, whatever, right? You're talking with her, and you try to lay out some of the foundation, or lay out a boundary that you have, and you kind of do it subtly. Let's just say you're on a diet, right? You're on a diet. There's certain things you can eat. There's certain things you can't eat, right? And let's just say one of the things that you refuse to eat is going to be something sweet. Let's just say ice cream, for example, right? So let's just say you'll say, I cannot eat ice cream. I'm putting that boundary. Essentially, you're claiming it for yourself, but more importantly, you're setting it out so she has an expectation of how to go about the interaction. So you'll say, I can't eat ice cream. Let's just say 2 weeks goes by, right? You're still obviously on your um, on your diet, and she proposes the idea of saying, "Hey, let's go get some ice cream. It sounds like a good time, right?" And a lot of people would say, "You know what? I know I did say that, but she's she looks really good today. I might as well say yes, right?" A lot of men, they fall for this trap, and it is indeed a trap, whether you perceive it to be or not, whether you think it's innocent or not innocent, whether it's unconscious or whether it's conscious or unconscious. Nonetheless, it is what we call a fallen trap. I'm gonna say that it's called what it's really called is a shit test. That's the terminology that when I was coming up and learning all about this stuff, it was called a shit test. Essentially, it's going to be something that I had mentioned. It's either going to be an unconscious or a conscious thing that's essentially testing your masculine frame, right? So if you were to say in that position, you were to say, yeah, well, let's just go get ice cream. It's just one time. I know I told her that, and I know I was trying to keep this promise with myself, but you know what? It's just one time. I'm going to go ahead and do it. And you go ahead and do it, right? And then let's just say a week goes by after that, and for whatever reason, let's just say she's thinking about it, maybe even the next day, and she's like, "Oh, I remember. Actually, he probably wasn't supposed to have that because he told me that he wasn't supposed to have ice cream, but he still got ice cream with me. Why? That's a little weird, right? Just having that thought in general, obviously she could take a lot from that experience, right? Obviously, you're not a man of your word, which is going to go hand in hand with having a good, strong masculine frame. So if you do not have that, or if you fail the ability to go ahead and maintain that, that is going to lead to a lot more problems because now she's going to see that you have a chink in your armor, right? There's your word doesn't mean as much as it once did. And what this ultimately comes back down to is this, right? The difference between a man who has a good, strong masculine frame and one who does not is simply the ability for that man to say no and know when to say no. And more importantly, to know when to establish a boundary and say, this is going to be the way that it is. And if it's a no, it's a no. He sticks with what he says. Instead of always having that potentiality for you to compromise what you're saying and what you believe in, right? So this is something that's going to be very, very hard for a lot of men because, quite frankly, they're just trying to get to the point where this woman just gets along with them, and hopefully gets along with them very well, and they want to be liked by this woman. But here's the thing: some of the men, and I would say probably most men, they will compromise certain ways in which they are, certain things in which they do, in order to appease a woman, which they think is, and maybe it's something that she says she wants, right? But here's the thing: if you're compromising your masculine frame by doing exactly what she wants instead of what you want truly, you're already not setting up the foundation the way that it's supposed to be set up. You're following her lead, and she's not following yours, right? So, like I had mentioned, there's going to be many different causes, and there's going to be many different things that can essentially be. Let's just say you had a let's just say you have a cup. We'll call the cup your masculine frame, right? So a lot of men, they have cracks within this cup. Water is leaking out, and yet they're still trying to say, "Oh yeah, well my cup's full." Well, quite frankly, it's not. You don't have a strong masculine frame, and yes, it's really going to come back to your ability, your ability to say no, and more importantly, be the man and stay being the man that at first attracted her in the first place. So, for example, let's just say I'll give you another one, right? Another failing attempt to go ahead and maintain your masculine frame. This is going to look like, let's just say you are a man who works out 5 times a week, right? You go to the gym 5 times a week because that is exactly the way that you had set it up for. Let's just say you've been going to the gym for a few years now. You go 5 days a week. This is just part of your routine, right? Let's just say you approach a woman at the gym. You guys start talking, and all of a sudden, she likes you. She shows interest in you, whatever, right? And instead of going to the gym 5 days a week, you meet her. You get a little bit more comfortable with her. You guys start going out on more dates. You guys start talking, hanging out more, right? Let's just say you go from that 5 days a week that you've been doing to, let's just say, now you go 2 days a week because you've now replaced the habit of going to the gym with hanging out with her or spending time with her or other women, right? Now your masculine frame of what first attracted the woman is now being compromised because of the woman, right? This is what so many men do. They do this in many different aspects. They do this when they have kids. They do this when they first start talking to a woman, right? And they do this obviously years down the line when, oh, I've already attracted her. Oh, me and her, I got in a relationship with her, so I don't need to work as hard. I don't need to keep up with something, right? So they fail to maintain this masculine frame, and then they wonder why their woman is less attracted to them. They wonder why their woman is not respecting them as much as what they once did. And it's all going to come back down to the simple fact that you were not the man that you had said that you were to her. So that is going to be the flaw that so many people have when it comes to maintaining their masculine frame. So ask yourself the question, be honest with yourself. How strong is your masculine frame? Is it strong or is it not strong? When you say you're going to do something, do you actually do it, or is there a chance that you can compromise that for her? And that is going to be the difference between a man who has a good, strong masculine frame, where a woman never disrespects them, and who basically gets exactly what he wants out of that interaction, also hopefully gives the woman exactly what she wants, versus a man who doesn't exactly get what he wants and all of what he could get within a relationship and settles for a relationship that's really not as good as what he anticipated. That is going to be the clear difference, right? And in that other scenario that I had mentioned, right, it's going to lead to a lot more disrespectful moments, just based off of the simple fact that you essentially couldn't maintain your masculine frame. Now she notices that you're not who you said that you were. All of a sudden she's going to respect you less because you're not exactly who you said you were, right? So yes, maintaining, what does maintaining look like? It's going to look like not compromising yourself, right? You're going to have very little to no exceptions when it comes to this, right? Let's just say, for example, she wants to spend more time with you, right? But let's just say you have to get your work done, right? You must get your work done because, quite frankly, that's probably the reason she likes you. Let's just say you're on your purpose, right? You're doing exactly what you need to do, whatever that looks like for your work, and all of a sudden, she wants to spend more time with you. She says, "Okay, it's okay. You look good. You don't have to go to the gym. You're already doing so great. You don't have to put more work in, right?" So you say, "You know what? You know what? You're right. I haven't put in work in the gym. I do look good, and I have been putting a lot of work in. When your original plan was to go ahead and put work in, right? And then you start to slack off and say, you know what? She already kind of likes me, so I'm gonna spend more time with her, right? You give her more time, and then you wonder why you're having more problems with her. And it's simply because you weren't exactly who you said that you were. Here's the thing. If you're going to do something, just do it. Don't let a woman be the wind that steers your boat a certain way, right? Be the wind and be the boat. And that's what it is at the end of the day. If hopefully you understand that analogy, but essentially you dictate where you're going to go, and you hopefully have the foundation that's going to get you there. And if you don't, then quite frankly, you're going to be a feather in the wind. This is why this is going to be when you have a weak masculine frame. This is going to look like where you don't really have any foundation within your day. You don't have any set good habits that hold you to being the man that you need to be. Whether this is working out, whether this is pursuing a purpose, whether this is doing work, whatever it is, right? Essentially, you doing and being the man that you need to be, and essentially, hopefully, becoming that man through those actions, right? Maybe this is developing an interest. Maybe this is learning about a certain thing. Maybe this is developing a certain skill, right? Essentially, if you compromise any of those things that I've mentioned for an interaction with a woman, regardless if it's going good or not, you are letting up on your masculine frame. And it's only a matter of time before you have more problems than what you anticipated because you stopped doing the things that first got you the woman in the first place. So yes, you need to be able to keep commitments with yourself. You need to be able to establish and maintain this, and this is going to show her and show you that you have a good self-awareness, and you also have some self-respect as well, if you're not going to compromise on these things. And I would say women are truly attracted to men who can actually tell them no. I would say that. And a lot of men would probably, maybe they would disagree with me. And here's the thing, the man that you want to be like and who has the relationship that you want, he's more than okay with telling his woman no. And she's more than okay with respecting that decision and saying, okay, you know what? It's a no, right? Yet there's so many people that they have this misconception of the way that their interaction with a woman should be because they've been brainwashed by society's, let's just say society's programming that suggests, oh, you need to do this for a woman, you need to handle her this specific way, you should always say yes. Essentially what society's trying to do, if you haven't already recognized it, is they're trying to make you a good man. And trust me, good men finish last. You ever heard that? You ever heard that saying? Good men finish last, or you know what I'm talking about. Nice men finish last, whatever it is, right? You hopefully know what I'm talking about. But essentially, what it comes down to it is this: those are going to be the men with no strong, structured foundation. Those are going to be the men without a backbone. Those are going to be the men that can't say no. Now, if you're a man that can do these things and does have these things, you're automatically going to demand the respect of a woman because she's going to know that you have a purpose. You have a strong foundation of structured maybe habits and skills that you're pursuing, and more importantly, what the masculine frame is setting up is essentially setting up the fact that it's a clear understanding that she is going to be your, let's just say your free time, right? That is what you should understand, or that is what she should understand is you are her free time. You're not That's not your main job. Your main job is to hopefully pursue a purpose, hopefully go to work, hopefully go to the gym, hopefully develop new skills, hopefully develop your own interests, right? That is your main purpose, right? Hopefully, right? And with that being said, if you can find time, then you can find time. But here's the thing. There's a lot of men when they find a woman, they start compromising all these things because they've actually just got a woman. They want to spend more time with her. Maybe she even wants to spend more time with you. But that doesn't mean you compromise the things that you had already set out to. That is one thing that I will not do, and something that for a lot of my interactions, I would not do. Because quite frankly, I know the task at hand. I know my purpose is first. I know the woman is second, third, or fourth, whatever it is at the end of the day. But I know what I need to go ahead and do, and I do what I need to do. And here's the thing, if I have to say no to my woman, she's going to be completely okay because she knows that I'm handling the shit that I need to handle. Instead of just saying, you know what, I'm going to compromise on this. I don't need to do this. I can get to this later, whatever, right? You being you're that when you act like that, you have a weak frame, and like I had mentioned a little bit earlier, you're like a feather in the wind. You're not guiding your own self. You're letting your environment or your circumstances dictate where you're going to go. Instead of saying, this is where I'm going to go, this is how I'm going to get here. Instead you're saying, well, let's just see where the day takes us. And I'll go wherever she wants me to go. I'll do whatever I need to do. Having that approach is going to set you up for failure. It's going to set you up to have a lot more problems than what you could ever anticipate. So, with that being said, so that is the masculine frame. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying. Hopefully that you have a better idea of what this is, right? You understand thoroughly that you have to figure out exactly what that is, right? And I'll go ahead and reiterate what that is. That's going to look like having a structured foundation of life. More importantly, having your values, your standards, and your boundaries clearly defined, right? And more importantly, your actions, your habits, those things, your skills that you want to go ahead and develop, your purpose that you're pursuing, having all these things defined and developed in something that you're constantly working on. Hopefully, this is what's going to make you attractive to women in the first place, is if you're doing these things and if you have these things, right? If you don't have these things, good luck attracting women, right? And here's the thing, if you can still attract women, let's just say you look good but you lack all these things that I've mentioned, good luck trying to keep a woman, because you're definitely not going to be able to. That's for damn sure. So, what is the masculine frame, and more importantly, how to maintain it? You maintain it by not compromising yourself. You have little to no exceptions about your day and what you need to go ahead and do. This is going to show that you have a lot of self-awareness, and more importantly, you have a lot of self-respect for yourself, because because more importantly, you're keeping your commitments to yourself, right? That is the foundation that something can truly be built off of. And that is exactly what the man is supposed to be. The man is supposed to be the foundation of the interaction. If you suck at being the foundation of the interaction, good luck trying to build anything with any woman. Because quite frankly, if the foundation has cracks in it, if the foundation is very, very go with the flow, you're cooked. You're cooked. Whether you know it now, whether it's happening now, or whether it's happening later, you're cooked regardless. So it's best for you and best for your woman to make sure you have a strong, and you're maintaining a strong masculine frame. And at the top of this, I want to kind of get into this because I think this is very, very important, and this is going to be another thing that really needs to be mentioned. I kind of already mentioned a little bit, but with maintaining your masculine frame, this is going to be not tolerating disrespect under any circumstance, right? And exactly how you go ahead and approach disrespect and how you go ahead and handle disrespect is literally going to say everything about your masculine frame. So, for example, let's just say your woman or the woman that you're talking to, woman you're dating, whatever, right? Let's just say she decides to yell at you in a certain thing, or maybe start to raise her voice, right, with you. And it's something that's really not even a big deal. She starts to raise her voice at you. There's some men that'll just let that shit slide. They'll accept that being whatever it is. Oh, she's yelling at me, she's yelling at me, right? Instead of saying, hey, don't talk to me like that. And it can literally be as simple as that. That is going to be the difference between somebody who has a good masculine frame, a good strong masculine frame, and men who don't. They don't have a backbone, right? If my woman ever raises her voice at me, which she never does really. Let's just say she does, right? I'm going to check her because that's what exactly what needs to happen, right? A lot of women who act very disrespectful, who are, oh, I'm independent, I'm this and this and this, they got a big old head, right? Those women never get checked by any man. Men rarely check them. I would say men rarely check women in general, which is why they think that they can act these certain ways and whatever, right? But at the end of the day, you must be able to check them, because if not, if you can't check them, just know she's going to treat other men just like that. So for example, I don't know if you ever had this scenario happen to you before, but I have seen this. I've not been a witness to this because, like I said, I know how to handle this. Let's just say you're in public and you see a woman that, for whatever reason, you're not dating her, but she feels the necessity to yell at you, right? She's yelling at you. She's a random woman. She's yelling at you for whatever reason, right? Just know that whatever man is dealing with that, if it's a man at all, right, doesn't have a strong masculine frame, because she never got checked for her behavior that is disrespectful, right? And with that being said, you need to be able to check her, right? With your woman, the last thing that you want is for your woman to act out in public and for another man to check your woman. This is why it is very, very key to check your woman on the disrespect, and more importantly, to never tolerate it. You check it right away. Hey, that is not okay. And if she persists or whatever, she disagrees, whatever. You can go about that however you would like. For me personally, if my woman think that's okay to go ahead and yell at me for whatever reason, right? That's fine. All right, you're not going to talk to me like that. If you talk to me like that again, I'm not going to see you for about 2 weeks. I don't have time to get disrespected. I respect myself too much to be able to take any disrespect from any woman at all. So that is the way that you should be able to handle yourself. And like I said, that is going to be the clear difference between somebody who has a strong masculine frame and one who does not. And essentially what this is having the right order set. This is a huge part of having a solid frame, and more importantly, having a great program, which is what I'm going to get into here soon. But yeah, the last thing that you want is your woman to lose attraction to you because your foundation and your masculine frame is not being maintained. And yeah, it's just really not, that's not ideal at all. No man wants to be in that position. No man wants to be in that position where they have to handle the problems because their masculine frame is not very, very strong. So with that being said, I want to kind of get into the next part of this, and I'm going to ask you the question. If you've never heard of this, hopefully I can define it for you. But the question I have for you is this: with talking about your masculine frame, what does your program look like and feel like, more importantly? So, for example, let's just say a man who's constantly battling his woman in arguments, and they're always disagreeing about certain things, not really handling the situation very, very thoroughly. That man is going to have, for example, they're going to have a let's just say a not a good program, because they allow disrespect, they allow their woman to talk to them a certain way, they allow all of these things. So therefore his program isn't a good program, right? It doesn't look good, and it doesn't feel good, right? More importantly, it doesn't look good to the woman, and it doesn't feel good to the woman, right? And this is going to be a huge, huge thing that I think a lot more people need to have emphasis on. And this is something that's really only going to be developed through experience, right? Most people lack experience, so therefore most people's programs are pretty much dog shit, right? I had spent a lot of time developing my own through my own personal experiences, through the observations that I've observed within other people, and more importantly, through my own personal learning. And with all this being said, I would say my program is very, very good. I've been able to maintain a relationship with a good high quality woman, and quite frankly, I don't see that many people who can and who do that on a daily basis. So with that being said, ask yourself the question, right? What does your program look like, and what does it feel like? When you're talking to women, does she feel comfortable? How is she acting? Is she respectful? Is she is she adding something to the interaction, right? Or is she just simply taking away from you? How is she treating you? How are you treating her? Evaluate all those things. That's going to hopefully give you a good gauge of what your program should look like and should feel like. And more importantly, I want you to ask yourself the question, if it went completely ideal, what would that look like to you? And if you could also provide that for a woman, what would that look ideal to what would specifically look ideal to them as well, right? If you can answer those few questions, you'll be in a good position of having a good program. And like I'd mentioned, there's a lot of men that truly do not have a good program. Part of that program, and I would say probably about 75% of that program, is going to be your masculine frame, which I've already mentioned. So I'm gonna mention this as well. I've mentioned it a little bit earlier, but nonetheless, I need to mention it again, right? There's going to be these things that I had this term that I had used earlier. It's called shit tests, right? This is going to be this is going to be women testing your masculine frame, right? They're going to be testing your program to see if you can actually handle this problem or handle this situation, or whether you cannot, right? Women test this consciously and unconsciously. They have many different ways of doing this, but essentially what it is her testing you to see if you're consistently being the man that you know you need to be, and if you're consistently being the man that she knows that you need to be for her, right? So for example, I'll give you another example. Let me see. The example I'll use is this. I kind of already used that one, but let's just say this right here. Let's just say, what example? I've already used like 3 or 4 now, but I'll use the example of the gym once again, right? If you haven't heard me say this already, and then I'll mention it again. So let's just say, for example, you were a man. You started going to the gym 5 days a week. You've been doing this for years, right? Or let's just say, I'll do this one. I'll do this one. Let's just say every single Friday, for whatever reason, you go out with the boys. You go out with the boys every single Friday. This is something that you do with your friends because this is just part of your friendship, right? Every single Friday, you guys go out and do something. Whether it doesn't matter what it is, but you just go out and have a good time with your boys. You have this. You guys all have this a part of your schedule. This is something that you've been doing for years, and all of a sudden she says, "Hey, can we hang out Friday? I know you usually do that thing with your friends, but can we go do something? I want to get some dinner or something." And it sounds good, right? It sounds good. You're like, okay, maybe you'll consider it, right? My guy, if this is something that you do and something that you know that you do, and she's even making you reconsider the things that you already do, and she already knows that you do, quite frankly, this is going to look like a shit test. She's testing to see if you can say no to her. She's testing to see if you are the man that you say that you are, and more importantly, you are the man that she had met, that she was first attractive to. She was attracted to the fact that you went out. Let's just say, for the example's sake, she was attracted to the man that went out on Fridays with his friends, because that shows that you have an actual social life. You have people, you have things going on, and that's part of what makes a man attractive, is going to be a man that actually has things going on, who has a social circle, who does things, and who's not just not doing things, right? Who doesn't have a social life, right? Obviously, women see one more attractive than the other, whether you have a social life or whether you don't. Most women are going to say, "Oh, well, this man's doing things. He's hanging out with people. He's doing things." They're going to be more attracted to the man who's obviously doing things, right? So when she gives you that unconscious test, whether she knows that she's doing it or not, she's seeing if you're willing to compromise the things that you have always done, to see if she can take a little bit more of your time, or take a little bit more of, or not even take more of your time, just to see if she can switch up what you're doing, right? This is going to look like a shit test that I mentioned, and this is going to be something that women naturally do, because she's trying to vet. This is a woman's way of seeing if you're good enough to have children with her. That's what it is at the end of the day. That's what it's gonna come down to. The foundational. That's the foundation, right? The foundation is this man masculine? Does this man have a good masculine frame, a strong masculine frame? Can he handle himself? Can he tell me no? Can he do and be the way in which I need in order for me to have and want to have children with this man, right? That's essentially what it's going to come down to. Whether you think it's that deep or whether you don't think it's that deep, that's what it is. If you think about it enough, most women's decision making and the way they go about is truly trying to see if you're worthy or if you're not worthy, right? Their way of going about it is obviously a lot different than just being upfront. They'll do it in little, very, very little subtle ways. Sometimes they do it consciously. Sometimes they do it unconsciously. But at the end of the day, you need to be aware. And this is something that I was chilling with my girl the other day, and we were watching a Batman movie, and we were watching the one with if you know if you I'm gonna give you the example because I think this is funny. So this is going to be the guy. His name is Harvey Dent in the movie, right? If you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just hear me out, right? So let's just say he was talking to this one woman. I don't remember her name, but essentially this woman was like, "Oh, you work so hard. You're doing so great. You're on top of your game. This and this and this. Let's just go out for dinner." And he said, "No, I have to go. I have work to do." And he's stuck with that because he knows that is what makes him attractive, right? He knows that he has something to handle. He has a purpose to go ahead and act out, right? And more importantly, this is exactly what is the masculine frame. He says, "I'm not going to compromise," without saying it. "I'm not going to compromise what I set out to do just to be with you. I have things that I need to go ahead and handle." And there's a lot of men that would say, "You know what? You're right. You're right. I have been working really, really hard. You know what? I'm gonna go out with you." There's a lot of men that would say that, but here's the thing: she's going to respect the man, whether she feels upset with your decision or not. You need to be in a position where you can tell her no, and a lot of women will understand, and a lot of women will respect you for that because that is what you had set out to do, and you're doing and being the man that like I had mentioned first attracted her in the first place. This is very, very key, very, very key. And let me see where am I at? Where am I at? Because the main reason that I had laid out these few things, right? The shit tests and the masculine frame, because at the end of the day, you're doing one of two things. You're either stepping into her world or she's stepping into your world, and it is that simple. When it comes to your relationship with the woman, you need to be in a position where you are the main character, and she is stepping into your world and taking on life with you, as opposed to you're stepping into her frame and letting her decide where you're going to go, right? You are the main character. You do not step into her world, she steps into yours, and this is truly the proper order that does exist. If you could just observe this, as I've observed this time and time again, people think that it's okay to defy this. They think that they can get away with defying this natural order that does exist. And maybe sometimes it works. I'll give it that, right? Maybe sometimes it works, but maybe, just maybe, and this is what I would argue, it brings a host of problems that you could not plan or expect. You cannot plan for these problems. You cannot expect these problems to come, but at the end of the day, they're going to come, right? If you're willing to compromise your masculine frame time and time again for her, just know she has no other choice but to eventually lose respect for you. She has no other choice but to eventually disrespect you. She has no other choice but to become less attracted to you. That's what it is at the end of the day. That is the root, right? If you have a strong masculine frame, you know what you're doing, you know what you're building, you know what your purpose is, you're handling your purpose, you're doing the things that you had set out to do, and you're not letting anyone or anything compromise that, because that is who you are. That is hopefully facilitating who you want to become. And nothing compromises that. Anything outside of that is going to be on your free time, but that's only after you had already got whatever you needed to go ahead and get done, right? And like I mentioned, people try to defy this, and you thoroughly must understand that you're not joining her on her journey of life. She is joining you and your journey of life. And I do believe most problems are going to come back down to these things that I've mentioned on today's episode, whether that's the shit test, whether that's the essentially the masculine frame. It's most problems in relationships are going to come down to that. And the woman wants to feel loved, the man wants to feel respected. The only way that a man can feel loved is if he's feeling that respect from the other person. And yeah, that's what it is at the end of the day. So quite frankly, hopefully you understand exactly what I'm trying to mention. The reason why you suck with women is because your masculine frame is not strong. You don't know what it is. You're simply just living this life hoping it works. You're trying to get experience, but the reason why most men suck with women, and if you suck with women, your masculine frame probably isn't tight, man. He probably isn't any good. And hopefully this is something that can give you a little bit more it can shed light on some of the issues that you've been dealing with, or maybe even you can recognize this within other people's behaviors and other people's way of going about their own life. So this is something that I've done time and time again. This is going to be part of my dating series. This is episode 2 of my dating series. I'll have 8 more episodes after this. I'm in the process of creating a dating course with all the knowledge that I have acquired through my experience, through the observations that I have of others, and also through my own learning experiences, right? So if you're curious about the course, feel free to let me know. I will be making it and releasing it after these 10 episodes. And just know I've spent so much of my time just developing my dating skills and basically any and every area of dating. This is why I eventually have a woman right now. And yeah, like I said, feel free to let me know. Like I said, reach out to me on any platform if you're curious about the dating course. But other than that, this was episode 211 of the Life of Champ podcast, episode 2 of the dating series. I'll leave you guys off with the podcast motto. Fellas out here, man, we don't just work around here, man. We outwork. So make sure you're outworking these motherfuckers, because you know that I am, and you know that everyone else around me is. You already know what time it is, man. So tap in with the next podcast on Thursday. I'll be doing a live stream on Monday, hopefully Monday and Tuesday. I'm going to be reacting to a few videos. So if there's a certain creator or videos I'm going to go and react to, feel free to let me know. And other than that, is there anything else I have to say? I think I've said it all, man. Hopefully you can learn what it takes to maintain a masculine frame. Hopefully your masculine frame is very, very strong. If it is, feel free to leave it in the comments, but hopefully I have at least helped you out a little bit. Y'all have a good rest of your night, and like I had mentioned, next podcast is going to be on Thursday. Good night, man.